Welcome back to Twin Cities Live. A cancer diagnosis often means chemotherapy, and with that can come extreme fatigue, loss of appetite, and something not often mentioned, maybe you've never even heard of it. It's called Chemo Brain.
So this can be anything from becoming unusually disorganized to having trouble finding the right words or taking a little longer than usual to do everyday things. But in today's Be Well with TCL, reporter Kelly Hansen introduces us to a Burnsville attorney who says Chemo Brain really got the best of her. That is until the LearningRx program helped her IQ to jump 17 points.
7 years ago, at the age of 38, Elizabeth Porter was diagnosed with Stage IV Lymphoma.
Started chemotherapy in November of 2011. I had to complete 12 rounds of chemotherapy over the course of 6 months, and that was completed on Friday, April 13th, 2012.
Those are dates Elizabeth says she'll never forget, but the chemo did make a lot of things foggy.
What ultimately led me to seek out LearningRx was an argument at home that I was having with my husband. We all have them over recycling. I was pointing to a stack of boxes that were lined up to be taken down to the recycling room and calling them plants. And that was devastating.
Elizabeth is an attorney and didn't want what she calls chemo brain to affect her work.
I call it my mental file cabinet. If I can't think of the word I want to use, I never had trouble opening that file cabinet and selecting another word. As time went on after the chemotherapy treatment, I was having trouble opening the file cabinet. Words weren't coming to me, so then I was having to rephrase things. I always use notes, so I had that as a backup, but it wasn't comfortable.
So for 3 months, she worked with a trainer 3 days a week, an hour and a half each session.
We've done a lot of stories on children that have done the program. Did you think it would work for an adult?
I wasn't sure. I'd heard about Ben Utecht and his experience with LearningRx post-concussion, and so I was intrigued.
3/13.
We brought you Ben's story in 2015. He took a career-ending hit that led to his 5th concussion, and after years of suffering, those brain injuries led him here to LearningRx.
When they're working with adults, it's oriented towards adults. You're not going to be doing the same exercises the children are doing. They're more adult-oriented. You are operating in the same room with the kids, but they're motivating. They're doing a great job, and they're focused, and they're staying with it for the time they're there. You know, as an adult, you need to set a good example, and you just do it.
It's been more than 3 years since Elizabeth graduated from the LearningRx program, and the gains she made then have stuck around.
I feel it at work when I sit down to draft an extensive memorandum or an affidavit. The organization of that product is much easier than it was prior to taking LearningRx, and I've never gone back to kind of feeling overwhelmed with organizing things, or words do escape me periodically, but it's not a difficult retrieval. I can always get another word in place of the word I've forgotten. I have reaped the benefits over and over and over again, and if one adult hears me say this and gets the help because I said it out loud, then I've done my job.
Well, we are so happy to tell you that Elizabeth has been in remission for 7 years and is doing well.
This is incredible. LearningRx Executive Director Rich Frieder is here to tell us a little bit more about this. It's so amazing to hear Elizabeth's story. And then, of course, we've had Ben here several times to talk about the impact of these brain injuries. So how is the program helping your brain heal and recover and be able to work in the way that it was able to prior to the injury?
Yeah, so the reason it works is what we're doing are really intense mental exercises that are targeting the weaknesses. And you kind of heard that with Elizabeth. Everything we do is one-on-one, so it's customized to the weaknesses someone has, the goals they have, their age. And so, and actually, we're changing the way the brain's working. We were actually published several months ago in the Journal of Neuroimaging that shows we change what's called the functional connectivity of the brain, which means the brain is working much more efficiently. You can retain information better, process faster. So whether it's things like Chemo Brain as a type of traumatic brain injury, or Ben Utecht with concussions, individuals with strokes, car accidents, children at birth who have had brain injuries, veterans who have had combat related. We've actually had research published in our ability to help individuals in those scenarios.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's really wild, too. It seems that when you do this, and I've done just a little bit of the testing here live on the show, it forces your brain, this sort of training forces your brain to, it's almost like doing an advanced aerobics class or a group fitness class where you really have to learn what's going on and pay attention. It seems that it's this intentional effort to get your brain doing things that normally it just doesn't seem to do.
Yeah, and basically it's like working out is a great analogy. Because what's happening is, if you go to the gym and you're doing exercises, you're strengthening your muscles, they get bigger over time, at least from what I hear, right? And so that actually is what's happening when you're training your brain. The biggest difference, besides the obvious though, is that the gains we achieve are long lasting. So, Elizabeth trained several years ago, Ben Utecht has trained several years ago. They haven't lost the ability. So it's not like you're just coming back over and over again. Because once you improve the skill, as long as there's not another injury, the gains stay with that individual for a long period of time.
Okay, what happens though if someone has sustained a brain injury? How long after the injury? Should it be right away that they should come in and see you? When should they reach out and try to get some help?
Yeah, great question. So I would say, like, if it's immediately after, we're not the right place to go first, because an individual needs to go through some healing, some physical healing. There's typically kind of a rehab process that happens.
Okay.
That can be anywhere from a month to even 12 months, depending on how, like, if it's a serious car accident. But here's where we really help, and I hope people hear this, is that there's kind of this belief that after you're 12 to 18 months after the event, whatever that event is, stroke, car accident, this is now the best you can be. Like, all the healing has happened, and your cognitive ability, if it's decreased, that's now your new normal, and you need to learn to cope. And that's where we come in, and because our experience with individuals is that's not true, because we're strengthening skills. So Ben Utecht, we worked with him 6 years after his last concussion.
Right.
So there are so many people walking around right now with the impact of traumatic brain injuries that don't think they can get help.
Hey, you guys give them hope, Rich.
Absolutely.
That's what's important.
That's incredible. Well, thank you
Rich.
so much, and thanks to
Appreciate that.
Elizabeth for sharing that story.
Yeah.
So inspiring. So LearningRx is offering TCL viewers a deal. You can call and mention Twin Cities Live to get that initial assessment for $75. It's regularly priced at $199. We've also posted more information about the program on our website, that is twincitieslive.com.
A big thanks to LearningRx for sponsoring Twin Cities Live.